I believe that everyone has a superpower. We often don't see it that way. We see it as that thing that makes us separate or weird in a bad way. But it's not. It's what makes us special and unique. Our superpower is that thing that lets us change the world and those around us. The organization understands that those who fall on the autism spectrum have tremendous power. And you're committed to helping to channel that and make it super. Right now you're going through an exciting period of expansion, and you've got some decisions to make about where you want to take your organization. We're here to help you make those decisions. My name is Conrad. These are my colleagues Brendan and Carrie Lynn, and we are New Frontier Private Consulting. So the main question that we're faced with today is, should Cognitive Interactive expand operations by pursuing a nonprofit model or a social enterprise model? Feeding into this are a number of primary issues or factors that we've identified, the first of which being market access. Right now you're dealing with a broad market that is experiencing high competition, and that's those who are seeking programming for those who have autism. Secondly, program logistics. You want to maintain control over your programming, and so various options might change that ability. And also the consistency of programming among the school system and within your own programming is something to consider. Last, the funding model. You've got to decide sort of, do you want to go more with a grant funding model or a private fundraising model? We also identified some secondary issues, first of which potential additional staff may be required depending on which strategy you decide to go with and how long that will take. And also volunteer availability. As a potentially nonprofit, you may be looking at who your volunteers are, how many of them you're able to get, and how long you're able to retain them. I'd now like to bring in Brendan to break down an analysis of the situation.
Thank you very much, Conrad. So starting with the external analysis, we wanted to look at government first of all. And what we found is that there's a lot of need for something that supports autistic children and autistic youth in the province and in Canada. And so there's availability for grants that support autism. That said, an overarching theme of the external analysis really is that there's a lot of competition for this sort of thing, and you do need to keep that in mind when you're looking at where you want to position your organization in the market as you move forward. Second, clients. Your clientele is autistic youth, and they are a very special demographic. They don't necessarily have the same interest in marketing that they would in a different marketing stream in a traditional situation. And so you have to look at new and innovative ways to target these children. And that also said, your organization does a great job, and the programming you offer does a great job of positioning these clients for success, offering autistic children a chance to move into the world of everyone else and to have a job maybe, or to go to college like everyone else in this room has an opportunity to do. So that's something we wanted to just highlight that you do a really good job of. And the autistic community obviously has an established infrastructure, not only in your province, but in surrounding provinces, and there's a lot of opportunities for funding. That said, like I said, with concerning government, there is obviously, because of that, high competition in that area. And last, the business community. You are positioned in a really creative part of the business community because you operate within the tech sector, and you're offering autistic children opportunities in the tech sector in terms of software development and in terms of game development. And this could generate a lot of interest from CSR for a lot of companies such as Bethesda, I'll just throw one out there, that could maybe come in and offer sponsorship or something along those lines, as well as look for ways to hire autistic children and autistic youth in the future. Now, moving on to the internal analysis. First, we wanted to focus on your location. Right now, it's relatively cheap to pay rent on a contractual basis with the university and the classrooms that you're partnering with. However, we did highlight a risk that could come up in the future, and that's that you could have scheduling conflicts. When you're operating on a contractual basis and you're looking to expand, this could become a problem. And Melissa, what we wanted to note about you is that you have really strong industry connections and strong community connections. So your strong industry connections to the tech industry are going to allow you to pursue partnership and look for those connections in the tech industry like I talked about. And not only that, your strong connections in the autism community are going to help you find that niche in the market that you're looking for as you move forward with your business. And your administration obviously takes care of a lot of the main business functions. Just keep in mind as you expand the staffing requirements that you're going to have to deal with. And as you evolve into an organization, you need to know who needs to go where and what's going to happen with that. And finally, programming. Like I said before in the last slide, your programming does a really good job of offering an innovative way for your clientele to enter college and to move up into the world of everyone else and have those opportunities to have those superpowers like Conrad was talking about. Now the quantitative. I just want to kind of explain what I broke down here. So I broke down kind of a revenue and, revenue statement for just 2 classes based on the intermediate classes and the advanced classes, just so you can get a comparison class by class of what a year looks like with fixed and variable costs for the organization. And what we found is that a lot of your cost is coming from those facilitators. And with the not-profit model, what you had outlined for us is that you want to have 5 facilitators in a 3-to-1 class ratio. And that would actually cost you quite a bit more than it would in the social enterprise. But what we wanted to also highlight is that in both these situations, you're going to be making negative profit if you're running this. And this is based on running these classes for 15 students for a year. So, and you wanted to run 4 classes a year like you outlined in the social enterprise model. So this profit is both negative in those situations. We're going to talk about how we can raise those funds and how we can turn this around so that we can make this a profitable organization and we can keep helping students with autism and children with autism move up into college like we want to. So I'm going to bring Carol in, and she's going to talk about that for you right now.
All right, so before we went any further, we just wanted to outline our recommendation for you today, and that is to actually become a not-for-profit organization and have a fundraising goal of about $65,000. And this will cover all of those costs that you will incur. So, as Conrad had mentioned, there is an opportunity for your organization to expand. And before we wanted to tell you how to do that, there were 3 key factors that we wanted to look at in order to move forward. The first being segmentation and targeting. There is a pool of 250,000 students that you can dip into. You just don't really know how and how to attract them. And so we just want to make sure that you have that competitive edge. We also want to look at effective services. We want to make sure that what you do have brings a lot of value to your students and just is maximized to its full potential. And lastly, financial viability. We just want to make sure that there are enough funds there so that your organization can expand through long term and it will be successful moving forward. By hitting these 3 targets, the 3 of us are confident that your organization will be set up to achieve excellence. So we did look at 3 different alternatives today. The first being to keep it going, and that's you can just pursue grant funding and try to reach that expansion goal by 2018. Or you can raise it up and actually increase your program prices and fees and continue that with that 2018 goal as well. Or lastly, you can push it back and actually attract donors. They can be corporate or individual. And we want you to reevaluate that timeline and just kind of give yourself some more time to properly execute that recommendation. So as you can see, what we recommend for you today is to push it back. So we're going to reevaluate that timeline and tell you why it's important to do so. We also want to narrow your scope. So we want to just make sure that you are providing programs to students that are really going to align with your mission. And we also want to tell you who to target and how you're going to attract them. And lastly, look for funding. So we're going to tell you how and who you're going to look for to fund your organization. So with that, I'd like to bring Conrad back in to tell you exactly how we're going to start that off.
So we've given you a recommendation. Great. You could recommend that I build a Lego tower, the CN Tower, but the questions I would have are why and how. So let's start with why. We recommend that you choose a nonprofit model because we think it allows you to achieve the maximum social impact. And we're recommending that you scale back to only intermediate and advanced classes so that you can channel and focus on that high school demographic, because that gap between high school and college is imperative among those who are living with autism, and getting them over that gap is essential. So first of all, you've got to establish not-for-profit status. You've got to file the appropriate paperwork with the Province of Ontario under the Tax Act. These files can be found online very easily. And also you've got to decide upon a mission, values, and guiding principles. We've put together what we think is potentially a good mission based on your own words. To build a network of support helping autistic and neurodivergent youth develop social, professional, and technical skills required to succeed in life after high school through collaborative programs, events, and services, while acknowledging that we are all born with different brains and superpowers. So the next step is to recruit a volunteer board of advisors. This is a group of people who you can go to for support, who can advise in the direction of the organization, and really just be a support system and allow you to build on connections that you already have. So these should be friends or family, professionals that you're aware of and are friends of perhaps, accountants, lawyers, anyone with a professional background who can bring some real value to that board and give some good direction. And also any of your contacts within the tech industry we think would be very valuable on a board of advisors. Next, it's always difficult to suggest this, but you've come to us with some goals. You'd like to reach 10 cities by 2018. We would suggest the best way to create a sustainable nonprofit model is to take a look at reevaluating those goals. We think that a 100% growth rate between the years of 2016 and 2020 is a sustainable model. You go to two, right out this last year, move to 2 schools in 2016, 4, 8, and hopefully between 12 and 18, or 12 and 16 rather, by the year 2020. We think this allows you to build on your core competencies and utilize the tools that you have to create a sustainable model instead of just trying to set a jump target that you're going to have to rush to meet without really establishing yourself as a nonprofit. Secondly, you suggested that you'd like to pay yourself a salary of about $60,000. Within the nonprofit industry, you've got to put the organization first, and you've got to really focus on helping your clientele reach their goals. So we're going to suggest that you, for the first couple of years, pay yourself a salary of about $40,000. We think this is a fair amount, and with the 50% wage subsidy, it's only costing the organization about $20,000. Moving onwards, we've put together to the next slide, please, a marketing plan we think is a great strategy for you to target that demographic. So we've suggested you scale back programming to those 2 classes to bridge that gap between high school and college. So this allows you to really narrow in and segment your market in a great way. So we've segmented this market as someone we like to call Gary the Gamer. So this is someone who's interested in how things work. He's got autism, but he enjoys playing video games. He spends about 25+ hours a week online. And how we'd suggest that you reach Gary is through what we consider maybe not traditional mediums. We talk a lot about social media marketing. Gary the Gamer isn't on Facebook. He's not on Twitter. He doesn't engage socially like the rest of us do necessarily. We would suggest that you take some of that game stock that you've got from your classes that you've already taught and put it on the Steam network, which is an online gateway for uploading and downloading video game content, oftentimes for free for indie developers, and that you post links to those pages on Reddit, the subreddit Free Games. This is often where people who feel alone, feel disillusioned, and who can't necessarily reach out on traditional social networks. This is where they often find themselves, and we think it's a great platform for you to try to reach those maybe dealing with autism who might be interested in your programming and might be helped by it. Moving on, I'd like to bring in Carrie Lynn to discuss some of our fundraising models.
So, in order to further your organization, you're going to need money to do so. So, we wanted to recommend that you actually start a corporate partnership package. So, you're going to have to start by communicating the value to different organizations. You can tell them that there's a visibility with the niche market, and there's that small, not small, but a large amount of their creative minds that they might not have reached before. And they can use it as their CSR initiative. And they actually have a strong pool of potential employees that they can actually have access to if they do donate to your organization. So what we've come up with is a tiered structure that you can offer different organizations. The first being a platinum sponsor, which would be about $20,000 per year, every year. And what they would get with this is they'd actually have access to all of your students that you are teaching with these programs. And they can also have a logo attached to a video game that your students actually have created. So when it is on Stream Network, the title page will have made by Cognitive Intelligence, or Cognitive Interactive, and then the company's logo attached at the bottom as well. And you can also offer a board seat to whoever sponsors at the platinum level. There is also the gold sponsor for $7,500 a year, and this sponsor can have access to students to have for beta testing. So if a technology company is producing a video game, these students can test it for them for the one fee of $7,500 per year. There is also the silver sponsorship level for about $5,000 per game, and this ties in with that platinum sponsorship where they can have their name and logo attached to any kind of program that or output that came from your students. And lastly, the bronze sponsor, which is anything less than $5,000 that anyone who isn't a technology company or your closest Tim Hortons wants to sponsor and just give to your cause because they just really want to help autistic youth. So we did set up a first-year goal. If you looked at 1 platinum, 1 gold, 1 silver, and 10 bronze, you'll be able to get about $50,000 from your corporate donors. We also want you to look at angel donors. So right now you can actually reach out to individuals in your community. Baby boomers are at 40% of donations, but they donate 47% of total donations. So really target those baby boomers who really want to give back and have the funds to do so. Also, women, I know you're not going to be surprised about this, but 64% of donations do come from women in the household. So really look at women as well when you're targeting individuals for donations. You can get board members to connect with people that they know in the area as well. You can also host events. This is where you can have that autism pub crawl that you were thinking about and just bring people out and get them aware of what's going on with your program. And also make sure you set up online donations. Now in 2015, everything is online, so the easier it is for people to donate money, the more donations you're going to get. And also we want you to actually look into those grants that you have available. The startup grant, which you get for $30,000 a year for 3 years, will really help get you to that $65,000 goal. With the angel donors and the corporate donors, we see you getting easily $100,000 for your organization in a year. So here's just a timeline outlining when everything's going to happen. You have it in front of you so you can take a peek at that whenever you'd like.
So of course with any great plan, there are some risks involved, of course, sometimes very few, hopefully. But we've identified some for you today. First of all, we suggested previously that your current location might offer some scheduling conflicts because you are in a university and you are sharing that space. So we'd recommend that down the line, you look at expanding into your own facility through the use of potentially a capital campaign or seeking out some capital improvement grants that might be available to you. Secondly, we'd suggest that potentially this strategy of targeting youth or targeting autistic youth where they are on Steam, on Reddit, isn't successful, in which case we would suggest that you sort of diversify your marketing efforts to some more traditional media, things like traditional social media outlets, some direct mailing, or even billboards, depending on where your organization is financially at that point in time. So, we've hit you with a lot of information. Thank you for being patient. What did we actually do for you? Well, we've identified some issues or some challenges that you might be facing, and we've offered some solutions and some strategies to deal with them. First of all, market access. We've suggested that you segment your market to make them more accessible and make it so you're dedicating fewer resources to reaching more people. Next, program logistics. We've suggested that you become a not-for-profit so that you can maintain control of your programming and don't necessarily have to subscribe to whatever a particular school system is offering. And last, the funding model, we've suggested that you seek a combination of grant money, corporate donors, and personal donors to try to make sure that you're maximizing your revenue base so that you can grow in the long term. The reality is that we all have a superpower. Maybe it's kindness, maybe it's friendship, maybe it's a different perspective. But your organization is dedicated to making sure that those superpowers are used for good. And we're here to help you do that. Thank you so much. We now take any questions.
So one of the things you addressed is some secondary issues were potential staffing and I guess a little bit about me and where I should put my energies as I work through your strategies. So can you speak a little bit to staffing and what I need to do around that?
Why we really want you to take that first step and actually seek board members. So once you have a good board, you can actually use them to their, they have a lot of resources and they probably have a lot of, they really want to help autistic youth, so they're going to really want to help you and your organization, so use them to really help you further your organization.
So they'll sort of be my
Yeah.
on the ground a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little bit concerned as I have a mortgage and a couple kids that you've cut my salary back to $40,000 a year. That might be a little hard to live on. What could we change in this model to be able to make sure that it's sustainable for me and that I'm getting paid fairly?
Well, I mean, the salary projection we've given is a very short-term projection. It's just basically in the years that it'll take to get the setup off the ground. It's the same that would be, you know, personal equity in a company that you're starting. Of course, if that's not, you know, it's going to work for you, we could try to look at the model and see if there are other wage supplement grants that could be provided, maybe through the Canada Jobs Program or something like that, that could further supplement that wage and make sure that you're making ends meet for yourself as well as your organization.
My question goes to, two questions, you decided between them. One is donations. People usually look for charitable receipts, being a nonprofit, that kind of closes that door, but it's more technical. But on the market, I was quite interested in 20K logo recognition and so on. And I like that. But it got me thinking about the lower level, $7,500, they could run the game or test games with their audience. But what stops these companies from going around CI and doing it themselves? What real advantage are we getting to work through us?
You're asking why they wouldn't just have anybody else test the game?
Yeah.
They have specifically selected, tech companies have specifically selected your market, the people that are in your class, to test these games. They've already come to you interested in that. Clearly, the autistic youth that you are teaching have some superior value to just anyone off the street. They'll notice things that other people won't. They'll be able to judge gameplay in a way that's more specific and more in tune. This clearly says to me that they value that service above just an ordinary, everyday person's perspective of the game.
My concern is related to the creation of the not-for-profit and the board. I see no role for parents in what I've heard today, and often consumers or clients' parents are often the biggest champions in the community. Friends, relatives of me are probably my worst worry. So did you give some thought to engaging the parents?
We obviously gave thought to engaging the whole community. The friends and family members' suggestion was just more of was a suggestion to bring in people that are close to Melissa, who she knows. So that also encompasses people in the community that are working hard and working towards this. And oftentimes, especially with how established Melissa is in the autism community, you have experience for a number of years, last 10 years. A lot of your friends will be also very enshrined in that community. And the good thing about a not-for-profit board is you're not restricted to a number of members, and it would be very easy to bring on more members that are really involved in the parent side of the community, as well as have people like lawyers and accountants that need to operate in the functions of the company as well.
And I have a question about your target audience is Gary the Gamer, but maybe he hasn't seen coding before. You're only going to offer intermediate and advanced classes, so how is he just going to have to jump into the intermediate or go elsewhere? Or
the idea is to tap into Gary the Gamer while he's early on in high school. At this stage in the game, most high schools have, if not a robust, then at least a fairly basic computer science system. And given how much computer science information is available online, I imagine if his interest is piqued, the ability to learn how to code at that basic level that takes you up to the intermediate level is, you're able to teach it to yourself. And with the aid of a high school program, we think that by the time Gary is in that last couple of years of high school, if he's really interested, he'll be able to have that skill set already to jump into those intermediate classes.
I heard a great quote about boards. They have three functions: give, get, or get off.